Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to West Hollywood's 40th anniversary. Please welcome to the stage West Hollywood's drag laureate, Pickle.
Hey everyone! Happy West Hollywood Day, and welcome to the City of West Hollywood's 40th anniversary. Can you believe it? So young. We are so happy and grateful to have everyone here, together, gestures, as a community. How are you doing tonight, WeHo? Applause. Come on, WeHo. We need to spark some collective joy to get us through tonight. We can do better than that. What if they had just cheered so loud? And I'm like, you can do better than that. You can do better than that. Cheer, scream. My name is Pickle, and I'm so lucky to have grown up right around the corner from West Hollywood. How do they know that? Okay, I would not be the same without this town. Now, some of you may know me from my popular drag story hours, but I also hold the great honor of being the first and most fabulous, I might add, but I won't. I might add, drag laureate of West Hollywood. Thank you. Thank you. As some of you may know, as the West Hollywood Drag Laureate, I have been working to enhance the presence and appreciation of drag culture and arts in West Hollywood. Oh, that's cool. And as an ambassador, is that what I've been doing? And as an ambassador of the city, I am here to promote partnerships with local businesses and community organizations, celebrate the spirit and special qualities of the West Hollywood and its residents, and inspire an emerging generation of drag artists by celebrating and promoting drag history and culture. Thank you. And I know that the dignitaries are going to get shout outs, but I do want to shout out that the legendary Miss Jackie Veet is here with us tonight. So please give it up. I saw her and I was like, wow, what an honor. Okay. Oh, I love you too. Thank you. Since we are here tonight to celebrate West Hollywood's history, before we begin our celebration, the city of West Hollywood acknowledges that the land on which we gather, and that is currently known as the city of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrieleño Tongva and Gabrieleño Quiche peoples. Prior to the Spanish conquest that began in 1769, the people of these villages managed their lands with a deep respect by cultivating, pruning, seeding, and seasonal burning. West Hollywood has benefited from their land stewardship over many generations, and we seek to build a restorative relationship with the Tongva and Quiche ancestors, elders, and relatives, past, present, and emerging. Now, all you beautiful people, we are here tonight to honor and celebrate a city built on love, a history full of pride, and a home that unites us all. But this city did not build itself. I built it with my bare hands. It was born out of the hearts, minds, and spirits of many very brave and passionate pioneers who had vision, who found refuge, who took action. Tonight's commemoration is about to recognize those efforts, and we have a wonderful program planned for you. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our city manager, David Wilson, and our city attorney, Lauren Langer.
All right, thank you so much, Pickle. I am David Wilson, West Hollywood City Manager. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us for West Hollywood Day. West Hollywood Day is started in 2022 as on the heels of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is an annual opportunity to celebrate the heart and soul and spirit of West Hollywood and provide an update on the state of our community. This year is extra special as we celebrate 40 years of cityhood since the city's founding on November 29th, 1984.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here tonight celebrating West Hollywood Day with each and every one of you. In my role as city attorney, I am constantly impressed by the dedication this community shows towards making West Hollywood a better place and the thoughtful way that you approach the complex issues we face as a city. West Hollywood continues to set new standards for other local governments as a leader in many important social movements, including affordable and inclusionary housing, HIV and AIDS advocacy, LGBTQ+ rights, civil rights, human rights, women's rights, animal rights, I'm not done, tenants' rights, and the protection of our environment. And as you can see from tonight, this city still finds a way to have a little fun.
West Hollywood is also a leader in social services and recreation programs, land use and infrastructure planning, arts and culture, and fiscal responsibility. Before we get into this evening's program, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the city staff, the city's employees who work tirelessly to serve the vibrant, inclusive, and resilient city we all cherish. Will all the city staff please stand up? I also want to give a special thank you to the city team that planned this evening's event, as well as the year-long 40th anniversary celebration ahead of us. Christine Seyfried, Paulo Kesperdet, Joshua Scher, and Aaron Taylor. And finally, I just want to thank all the other employees that are supporting this evening's event.
You will hear from the current city council a little bit later, but we do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge all the other elected and appointed officials joining us this evening. Please stand and be acknowledged when I call your name or group. We have with us former West Hollywood City Council members Alan Viterbi, Steve Schulte, Abby Land, Paul Corrett, Steve Martin, John Duran, John D'Amico, and former City Council member and current Los Angeles County Assessor Jeff Prang. This can be a very tough job, but also a very rewarding position. The city owes so much of its success to all of you who helped build this fine city, and we will celebrate much of that success in history tonight. Thank you all for your service to West Hollywood. Will all of the current and former city commissioners and advisory board members please stand? I work with many of the commissions and boards and know firsthand how important all of your work is to this community. West Hollywood's 16 boards and commissions tackle such important issues and provide much needed advisory support to the city council as they set policy for the city. Please give them all a round of applause for volunteering their service to the community. West Hollywood is lucky to have you all, and thank you for your service. Also joining us are state, regional, and local elected officials from our neighboring cities, as well as our public safety partners. Please welcome California State Senator Ben Allen, Los Angeles County Fire Department Chief Anthony Maroney, and West Hollywood Sheriff Station Captain Bill Mulder, Lieutenant Fanny Lapkin, and Sergeant Jason Duran. Thank you all for the certificates of commendation and proclamations you have provided to recognize and acknowledge the City of West Hollywood's 40th anniversary.
All right, we're finally getting to the actual program. It's all of your hard work and dedication that has allowed this city to thrive for the past 40 years. And that's why we chose to do something extra special to honor all of your incredible contributions to West Hollywood. Throughout its history, West Hollywood has emerged as a model city for inclusivity, social responsibility, community-oriented governance. And this is what 40 years of cityhood looks like. Tonight, we celebrate 40 years of love, a love that informs and shines through the city's special personality, style, charm, and character.
Tonight, we celebrate 40 years of community, a community that takes care of each other, made up of a beautiful blend of diversity and inclusion, of arts and so much culture.
Tonight, we celebrate 40 years of activism, doing what's right no matter how hard it may be, fighting for the rights and privileges that have been denied, determined to land on the right side of history, and be a role model for other cities around the world.
Tonight, we celebrate 40 years of progress, the courageous path forward paved by all of you here tonight, the trailblazers, the risk takers, the innovators, and most importantly, the optimists and daydreamers, working hard to improve our community and our world every single day.
Tonight, we celebrate 40 years of pride, a pride I feel every day when I see people who are able to authentically express who they are, enjoying our parks and with their friends and families, dining in our wonderful restaurants, shopping at our small businesses, and enriching our culture with their artistic passions.
And above all, tonight and this year, we celebrate 40 years of hope. Hope is intrinsic to our nature and something we all deeply need right now. And West Hollywood has long been a beacon of hope. The unique thing about hope is that it's not only a feeling, it's also a goal, making the impossible possible, creating a brighter future for the good of all people.
At the moment, some of us may feel uncertain about the future, angry, upset, even afraid. But that's where the city of West Hollywood has always shined. In 1984, there were also people who felt uncertain, angry, upset, and afraid. Uncertain if they could afford to do it alone. Angry and upset about the rising cost of rent. Afraid of police brutality. But they bound together and fought for those among us who are vulnerable, and we will continue to fight to ensure that this community will always be a safe haven to call home. I've been with the city of West Hollywood for more than 25 years, and I've enjoyed the privilege of serving as city manager for over 3 years now. It has been a rewarding journey. I vividly remember sitting down with former city manager Paul Arvalo and our bond underwriters on March 12th, 2020, just 5 days before the governor issued the emergency orders that effectively shut down the state. That day, we crafted a plan to issue bonds to fund the city's ambitious capital projects program, anticipating the economic turbulence the pandemic would bring. While no one could have fully understood the scale of the COVID-19's impact at that time, we spent the following weeks developing a comprehensive strategy to safeguard the city's financial health and long-term ability, while continuing to fund our core services, including health and human services, for our most vulnerable community members. That plan was embraced by our city council, our employee bargaining units, and our residents. It's a testament to the shared commitment of fiscal responsibility that has always been the cornerstone of West Hollywood's success, and it enabled us to recover from the pandemic much faster than most cities.
So I've been working with the city since 2006. I started working with the former city attorney Mike Jenkins and former assistant city attorney Christy Hogan right out of law school. So I've pretty much spent my entire legal career representing this special city. I spent many years representing the Planning Commission, then adding on the Business License Commission and Ethics Reform Task Force, and I took over as city attorney in 2021. And I'm proud to have worked on many of the issues that are so critical to this community that affect people's daily lives, like advocating for tenants, keeping the streets safe, and protecting the environment so that the city can run well and serve its residents. One of the things that I love most about West Hollywood is how it cares about its residents. I know that this city was founded in part to make sure that rents were affordable for the residents of this city. And tenant protection has remained a central focus and guiding policy for the city. And how do I know this? Because thinking back to that same week of March 2020, when the world was shutting down with a deadly virus spreading quickly around the world, council members said to me, our residents can't go back to work and people aren't going to get paid. This means they're not going to be able to pay their rent and there's going to be mass evictions and people will have to leave their homes when the world is shutting down and they'll have no place to go. And we're all supposed to be sheltering at home. We can't let this happen. Can we prohibit evictions? And I said, that's a good question. Let's find out. And that's how we started immediately on the groundbreaking research to figure out how to keep people in their homes during a deadly pandemic. West Hollywood was one of the very first cities, if not the first, to prohibit evictions during COVID, something that the state legislature eventually did at a statewide level. And that story is so illustrative of West Hollywood. When the world is turned upside down, West Hollywood never forgets how to take care of people and isn't afraid to be a leader in uncharted waters. I'm honored to serve as your city attorney and do my small part in helping the city move these courageous and important policies forward.
We all have our unique stories, experiences that could only happen in West Hollywood. Each of us carries a special snapshot from our own corner of this vibrant city and a personal reflection that means so much to us. And together, all of those memories and images create a colorful panorama that captures the true essence of West Hollywood.
It's a city of only 1.9 square miles, about 36,000 residents and 3,600 businesses. Small in stature, sure, but giant when it comes to its long-lasting legacy.
So tonight, we felt it appropriate to kick off this program with a presentation by WeHo Stories, a project documenting West Hollywood's unique legacy through first-person accounts and portraits of city founders, cultural leaders, activists, and stakeholders who have been part of the city's inspirational and informative history.
Thank you to WeHo Stories for joining us tonight in celebration.
West Hollywood, known as a place where colorful personalities and diverse communities coexisted for decades. But how did this 1.9 square mile slice of land between the cities of Los Angeles and Beverly Hills become a beacon of forward-thinking ideas, creativity, and hope? Known as Sherman until 1925, unincorporated West Hollywood was once under the jurisdiction of Los Angeles County. A lack of rigorous policing and zoning laws created a live and let live attitude that attracted older Jewish leftists, gay men who sought safe haven from the openly homophobic Los Angeles police, and creatives wanting to be near the epicenter of the film industry. But in the late 70s, everything started to change when developers discovered West Hollywood.
Developers and speculators, they were buying up apartment buildings left and right, putting a new coat of paint on it, raising the rents, and then flipping them. And that sort of constantly jacking up rent. People were hit with 3, 4, 5 rent increases within a year and no action against eviction. And no one knew West Hollywood as, it was an unincorporated area.
In 1983, the county's temporary rent control law was about to expire with no hope for renewal. Hotels popped up in quiet residential areas, and neighbors were concerned.
I was busy going to auditions or trying to figure out how to pay my own rent. And so I had reached out to CES, the Coalition for Economic Survival, before getting involved in Cityhood, because I lived in a apartment that was going condo. You know, we were getting evicted, and they helped.
Concerned about the fate of West Hollywood, longtime resident Ron Stone formed the West Hollywood Incorporation Committee, made up of a diverse coalition to explore cityhood. Members had a shared common goal: keeping West Hollywood residents in their homes, fighting gentrification, and having a say over how their tax dollars were spent. Some also saw cityhood as an opportunity to advance LGBTQ and other basic rights.
At the time, there was a growing LGBT movement, and the idea of electing openly gay people was certainly part of the impetus.
The gay men were upset because we were being abused by the police. We were living very tenuous, terrifying lives. And the idea of a city was like magic.
Ron Stone started this whole thing. We can't forget him. He asked me to do this, and I joined, and we all did it together. We all joined in, put all of our efforts and ideas together, and that's what came out of it.
When it came time to collect signatures to qualify cityhood for the ballot, the Incorporation Committee turned to CES, which had a large activist base, to carry out the work. Cityhood qualified for the November 6, 1984 ballot. So did 40 candidates, 5 of whom would be on the first city council.
We spent 7 years laying that groundwork and building the grassroots constituency base where they trusted us, and we were able to call on them to vote for our slate.
From the Cityhood campaign, I remember reading about it in Frontiers, and it was exciting because it was clearly going to be an opportunity to create an enclave of gay power. But, you know, I think most of us were busy working and partying, and it didn't really hit. And at some point, I got like a 30% rent increase, and suddenly I was a true believer.
I was the president of the chamber, and several people wanted the chamber to take an anti-cityhood posture, and I said no, because we deserve to be our own city.
After a contentious cityhood campaign, with landlords and developers on one side and renters, LGBTQ activists, and seniors on the other, West Hollywood voters overwhelmingly passed cityhood on November 6, 1984. Voters elected 5 progressives to the city council and the very first LGBTQ council majority in the nation.
I think somehow a bunch of people came together, and it was just the right combination in the right time, in the right place. And if there had been a different combination of people, maybe it wouldn't have worked.
What's good about West Hollywood was when we put it together, we were projecting our best selves onto the city. We were imagining that there really could be a better world. And they didn't mean just walking around smiling on Prozac, but to try and reach your greatest capacity as a human being, to express your God-given gifts, to work at the job that you want to love the person that you really care about the most in the world.
Out of that victory, a social movement emerged, one that led the nation on basic human rights and local control issues, like gun control. After 40 years of cityhood, West Hollywood is still a guiding light for communities across America.
I think the biggest lesson that people can learn from West Hollywood, this is going to sound so corny, anything is possible. But the other lesson I hope they learn is that you have to be vigilant. You need to know what you stand for, and then you have to can't take it for granted.
Please welcome WehoStory's board member and director of education programs at One Institute, Trevor Ladner.
Good evening, everyone. That multimedia piece was put together with the help of PJ Wagner as a snapshot of that extraordinary 1984 campaign that created our city of West Hollywood. Growing up as a queer kid in rural Mississippi, I dreamed of living in West Hollywood, defined by fellow Gen Zer Chapel Roan as a place where boys and girls can all be queens every single day. In high school, as I became an LGBTQ plus youth activist and created my drag persona, Miss Anything, I found virtual refuge in weekly recordings of Mickey Showgirls on YouTube. Today, with my rent-controlled apartment on the east side of West Hollywood, I have the dream opportunity to live and work in this vibrant community as the Director of Education Programs at One Institute. Tonight, I am honored to represent the board of WeHo Stories, a project that preserves and uplifts the first-person oral histories and archives of the changemakers who shaped the city of West Hollywood, from the early campaign days in 1984 through the first 10 years of the city. WeHo Stories continues the work that Supervisor Lindsay Horvath initiated when she served on the City Council, setting out to memorialize a legacy of cityhood history for generations to come. I would like to acknowledge my fellow board members, our fearless leader, Barbara Grover, Kat Eng, Callie Rogers, Angela De Silva, and Nicole Payton, as well as the incomparable Abby Land, our project advisor, and a key voice in this history. I would also like to thank our partners in this endeavor, our fiscal sponsor, Social Environmental Entrepreneurs, the Santa Monica College Public Policy Institute, and especially the Los Angeles County Library, all of which have been remarkably supportive partners. Our work in WeHo Stories will result in a coffee table book and a digital archive planned for completion by mid-2025. Before I end, I want to pay tribute to the tireless volunteers whose voices are absent from WeHo Stories because they passed away before their time. People like Mark Blyfield, Francis Eisenberg, and Jacqueline Balo, who made this city possible. We celebrate today because of their relentless belief in finding commonality in our diversity. By empowering ourselves, West Hollywood residents, led by renters, Jewish Americans, LGBTQ plus people, and seniors, would lay the groundwork for other communities throughout the country to imagine something greater. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our host for the evening, two-time Emmy winner, actor, comedian, West Hollywood icon, and master of ceremonies, Bruce Vilanch.
Thank you. Before we start, I'd like to clear something up for you football fans out there. I am not Travis Kelce's mother. You know, the resemblance is alarming. Certainly has alarmed me. Well, I am thrilled to be here for the 40th anniversary of a city where no one is over 40. You may have noticed that yourself. I'm old enough, I was around for the birth. I was. And I thought, well, it was started by as you've heard, and I will repeat, it was started by a coalition of gay people and Russian Jews who would come over, and people renters and seniors. And I'm gay. I'm a Russian Jew. I was paying way too much rent, and now I am a senior. So I'm almost every demographic of West Hollywood. And when I was on the board of the LGBT Center, which, by the way, is now the LGBT WTF BRB SOB, let's just call it the A to Z Center. I mean, we just keep adding initials. I was aware that there was only one place, really, that was a senior facility in this area that took care of everything every senior, every gay senior needed: Palm Springs. It's the assisted living metropolis. And
there are so many senior gays there now, they're having this year their own Hunger Games.
But so here I am, a senior in West Hollywood. And of course, I was immediately attracted to the town because it had so many features that were unique. It was the only city I'd ever heard of that had a city council that had a cult model on it. It was the only city that had a city council member named Steve Martin. And I remember I was on a movie set once with Steve Martin, and Steve Martin said to me, "I'm sorry, we have to wrap up. I have to go do a city council meeting in West Hollywood," which got a great laugh from the crew because they didn't know that he was the other Steve Martin. They really thought that he was on the city council of West Hollywood. And of course, now it is famous for being the only city in the world where Nancy Mace cannot find a pot to piss in. Thank you. Thank you, those who keep up with current events. Thank you. She's gone back to Florida, where the keys to the ladies' room in every city are held by Matt Gaetz. How are we doing? Is the signer keeping up? Okay. I know one word. This is it. This is the one word I know. Can you see? You see? Yeah. Oh, she can see. She's good. It's bullshit, basically. I know. I dated a deaf guy once. That's all he taught me. Well, that's not all he taught me, but a couple of things Patty Duke never learned. But he's. Yeah. Well, now I'm going to see if these glasses work with the wonderful things that have been written here, because we'll be chanting along. One of the beautiful things I find about West Hollywood is how accepting it is, how pioneering it is. People don't come here to fit in because I'm going to change the glasses now. I'm sorry, I know the red glasses are a brand. I paid Sally Jesse Raphael to retire. So I could now, but these are like black ones, these are like Onassis. I killed him off so I could have these. People don't come here to fit in, damn it, because fitting in is all about matching to societal norms, looking and talking and acting like everyone around you. That is certainly not us. Because changing yourself to fit in is a betrayal of the unique and special individuals that we all are. Am I right? People don't come to West Hollywood to fit in. We're here because this is where we belong. Tonight is not just a celebration of cityhood. It is a celebration of belonging. Finding belonging in a community is all about finding acceptance for being exactly who you are. Since its incorporation, West Hollywood has welcomed the young, the displaced, the desperate, the marginal. Wait, those are just the guys I take in. Who are you talking about? The marginalized, there they are again. The hopeful, the dreamer with open arms, and open hearts. Those of us fleeing prejudice in a foreign country, those of us suffering homophobia on the streets of Los Angeles, those of us leaving our hometowns for somewhere bigger, somewhere brighter, somewhere beautiful, and we found it. Here in the city of West Hollywood, we found home. Now, I said, since its incorporation, West Hollywood has been welcoming, but even since its inception, the indigenous Tongva tribe, and I just got a new partial so that I can say the word Tongva is very, very good. Thank you. The Tongva tribe, it sounds Yiddish, doesn't it almost? Pass the Tongva. It just sounds like something I'd hear at Seder, but... The Tongva tribe were known for their courage and their love of dance. Doesn't that sound like West Hollywood? Alive and well. These visitors, the visitors to the Tongva, paved a road that would connect neighborhoods right across the budding towns and manifest the destiny that all this way to the ocean. The road would become a place to be seen and be discovered in LA and become known as the iconic Sunset Strip. Those visitors also invaded a railroad through town that attracted the main shops and social activity of the town, which was during Prohibition, so this meant the area was liquor friendly. This popular thoroughfare would become the world-famous Santa Monica Boulevard, that would be sung about in pop songs, just by old people like Sheryl Crow. Probably Tongva Sheryl Crow, I think. Just till the sun comes up on Santa Monica Boulevard. The town earned a reputation for being unregulated and a little bit eccentric. Remember that? I remember when I moved here, I said I was living in West Hollywood, and they said, "Oh, are you in the Swiss Alps?" What we call the Hollywood Hills. I said, "Or are you in Boys Town?" I said, "Well, I'm kind of like on Vaseline Alley, you know." That's what we called Santa Monica Boulevard back in the day. I know it's not. I can be canceled immediately, please. Take me to Chiccone's across the street and leave me there. The area became popular. It became known for being unregulated, a bit eccentric, for attracting unconventional folks who wear pink T-shirts, who turn their nose up at government interference. In that sense, not much has changed. Los Angeles tried to annex the town many times, but West Hollywood stood its ground. It wanted to be its own thing, do its own thing, and for 40 years, it has, rightfully earning itself the moniker the Creative City, because it has proven to have the boldest imagination. Through tireless determination, the city of West Hollywood was officially incorporated as an independent municipality in 1984, and ever since then it has become a city of firsts. Get this list. The first city to have an out and proud lesbian woman as its mayor, and a majority city council in positions of power. The first city to pass anti-discrimination laws and create safe spaces for the LGBT LSMFT community. The first in the county to secure strict rent control for its residents. The first in California to allow domestic partnerships for the LGBT community and health insurance rights for their partners. That would eventually lead to marriage equality. The first in California to educate people about the HIV/AIDS crisis and champion so many health and social services programs to care for those afflicted by the disease. Go ahead, applaud yourself. This is true. I know some of you, and I know you were there. The first to demand openly gay sheriffs to protect and serve its marginalized and vulnerable residents. The first to end smoking inside buildings. That's why Betty Davis left town, but we don't. Thank you. I couldn't take it. That's why she's gone. But other than that, a good thing. The first to ban handguns and Saturday night specials. Other cities would quickly follow our example. This town was the first to cancel Christmas. You know, as not a really practicing Jew, I didn't really care, but all right. I mean, it got a lot of media attention, and all over the world and when you look at it, it's the height of inclusivity. Everybody could celebrate whatever the season is. This town was also the first to ban fur, except on bears, of course. The first to ban declawing, except on bears, of course. And the first to bear animal cruelty of any kind. The first to declare itself pro-choice in promotion of women's rights. The first city to provide non-gender conforming bathrooms in support of transgender rights. In support of human rights. That's really, now we can go mace ourselves. Oh, I made a pun. It's clear that the city is the first to take the lead in the issues that other cities were too afraid to tackle. And what all these progressive policies have in common is that West Hollywood is a city that always puts its people first. And that is something we can all be proud of. So cheers to this great city, our great city. Cheers to our gallant history and the place we call home. Let's hear it for you. Ooh. Was that you? Was that the signer making that? Oh, I thought she was doing a real Ohio State cheer there. I was very. Oh, turn the page. Believe it or not, West Hollywood City Council has only had 18 members over the past 40 years. 18 bold souls who fought the good fight since 1984 and championed progressive politics, programs, and policies that have never been done before. That became a paragon for other cities around the world to emulate. This is not just about documenting our history. This is about making history. And who better to hear about this history than from some of those who lived it on the big screen? Ooh.
West Hollywood had always been kind of a unique place. The city was incorporated. It was kind of an island between Los Angeles and Beverly Hills.
People outside of West Hollywood and maybe inside thought we were a crazy city. And we had the first LGBT majority council ever with 2 gay men and 1 lesbian and a senior citizen and Alan, who was a 22-year-old straight Jewish guy.
West Hollywood started off as a kind of a rough around the edges outpost in the county to becoming one of the most successfully managed cities in the United States.
You know, when people talk about the West Hollywood economic miracle, I mean, we have a lot of good assets within our 1.9 square miles, but we really, at the time, had inherited kind of a mess from the county, and redoing Santa Monica Boulevard was really the first step toward basically revitalizing the city and making the city someplace we could be proud of.
I was excited that we were a community taking our governance back into our hands, and it was a time of what seemed like unlimited possibility. It was before we were in a position to talk about gay marriage, but we were talking about domestic partnership, a concept that, of course, West Hollywood originated. We were talking about things like health insurance for people's partners, again, a concept that was radical at the time. And we were talking about the basic rights of people to live in their homes, to not fear for unreasonable increases in the cost of living. And so these were all the issues, and yet that first council meeting was just like a big party.
A lot of what we did had never been done before. You know, from domestic partner, from taking care of people with HIV and AIDS, from making sure that older people had a voice.
At the beginning, when I first moved to the city, it's hard to explain to people now. The relationship between the sheriff's department and the LGBT community was not good. It was terrible, in fact. And so we gave them a list. You know, we want you to recruit LGBT sheriff deputies. We want LGBT captains. We want you to march in the parade. We want the sheriff to march down Santa Monica Boulevard.
It's always been very inclusive in terms of its policies, and I think that's really one of the wonderful things about the city.
But we created a law that ended up being adopted by a variety of cities, and it's what the state then permitted to be the acceptable form of rent control. So we were able to deal with issues that, yes, they impacted our 37,000 residents, but they actually ultimately impacted millions, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people. And we also made things that seemed strange to many at the time, we made them normal. And by making them normal, we humanized populations, and we took stigmas away, but we created kind of a mutual respect and acceptance that I think really infected American politics in many positive ways.
The story of this city is best told through its connection to the arts. The drag history of West Hollywood, the Sunset Strip music history.
So much of the history of the Sunset Strip that people still talk about to this day happened before the city became a city. And I think that's also helped to shape the culture and the arts that the city has embraced since it's become a city. You know, the music culture on the Sunset Strip is unlike any other place in the world.
If we're not going to be a city of invention, we shouldn't exist. We might as well be part of Los Angeles. But I think we are a city of invention. RuPaul was a resident of West Hollywood. The Great Gatsby was written in West Hollywood. The Abbey invented gay bars in West Hollywood. Pinkberry is from West Hollywood. What do I like to say? Our footprint is much larger than our shoe size.
The city's pretty amazing. We're 1.9 square miles, right? So it's really kind of small, but we have made such an amazing impact as a city.
Oh my God, what there isn't there to love about West Hollywood? I love West Hollywood for all of the things that it is and that it's not. I love that it is 1.9 square miles of the most fun you will ever have in your life. And it is also an incredibly serious and committed place to advancing human rights and operating not just on a national stage, but on a global stage for human rights, especially for the LGBT community, and advancing the causes of justice, our environment, and so many issues that the city has been a leader on.
I think one of the things that I'm really proud of was the kind of bringing together of communities that we were able to do. And as a result, we were able to do big and really bold things that were widely supported throughout the West Hollywood community.
The milestones, I mean, there are many, but I'm particularly proud of the work that the city has always done on social justice issues.
We are not only an LGBTQ plus sanctuary city, we are really a sanctuary city for immigrants, seniors, people with disabilities. Everyone is welcome here in West Hollywood. We've made a lot of progress in the past 40 years in many ways, and I'm proud to have been part of that progress.
And now, a brief message from Council Member Seppi Shine.
I want to wish West Hollywood the most incredible 40th birthday, and I apologize to everyone for not being able to attend in person. Tonight I'm actually with my law school best friend and another friend because she has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So I took a trip to be with her and spend time there. But my heart is always with all of you in West Hollywood.
Joining our host, Bruce Vilanch, on stage, please welcome our City Council, Mayor John Erickson, Vice Mayor Chelsea Lee Byers, and Council members John Heilman and Lauren Meister.
Mario Lopez on Miss Universe. I've written that show many times, and there was one famous episode where he had to ask Miss Mississippi about our education system. And he said, what do you think about the fact that a lot of children cannot identify Iraq on a map? And Miss Mississippi thought for a moment, and she said, well, so many people cannot afford a map. Right, Miss Universe, exactly. That was Miss USA, I've done them all. Oh, I'm a whore, I've done them all. Well, hi. And here I am now doing this. Now, we have some questions what? We have, the signer is in distress? No, it's okay. Okay, good. We're all cool. We have some questions that I'm going to ask. I'm going to just throw out to all of you, and then we'll ask each one of you something individual. So we start with Miss Idaho. I know you want to cure migraines, Miss Idaho. I understand, but so I'll start with that. What motivated you to become a city council member? Was there a specific issue or moment that sparked your desire to run? Anybody?
Yeah, John.
Any of you. You can all,
Well, Bruce, thank you for being here tonight. And I want to give a shout out to all of my former colleagues who are here tonight for all of their work. Thank you. It was great to see you all on the video, and it's great to see so many of you here tonight. I ran because I was part of the incorporation committee, and part of my motivation was that I was working with CES on rent control issues, and it's hard to believe that at the time, the County Board of Supervisors, it was a majority Republican Board of Supervisors, and they were going to phase out rent control in LA County. So that was a big push for the incorporation committee. And that's part of the reason why I ran.
Wow. Anybody else?
Sure. Well, I started out a neighborhood block captain handing out newsletters to Westbourne Drive. And then I became president of West Hollywood West Residents Association. Some of you are here tonight. Yay. And then I was throwing bags of newsletters to the block captains and just got involved with everything about neighborhoods, about traffic, about parking, about public safety. And then I got discovered by Councilmember Heilman, and I was appointed his public safety commissioner, and then planning commissioner with John D'Amico, and it was really the natural next step in the journey.
Now, can any of you recall your first council meeting, what it was like? What were your initial thoughts when you actually mounted that podium?
So I started as an intern at the city council office. And my first council meeting, I think we were still talking about the fur ban, if I'm not mistaken, or post-fur ban. You live in West Hollywood, either pre-fur or post-fur, so it's very, contentious. But I remember, I think I met residents like Stephanie Harker and Kathy Blavis, like right off the bat, and some other individuals. Steve Martin was there in his brown sweatshirt, of course, like if Steve's here. But I really remember going and saying to my supervisor, Larissa Fuchs, and I said, some of these people are saying the craziest stuff in public comment. And I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, they can get up there for 2 minutes and talk about the aliens in their backyards if they want to. And that's just what we do here. And, I will never forget that moment of hearing people for 20 minutes say things that made sense. And some people that,
I know. But social media killed all that.
Yeah.
Now they can just sit in their mother's basement and type that.
Yes. Yeah, we get that.
They don't have
stuff.
to go out of the house and, park.
Yeah. Or, see the sun.
Or see the sun.
Some of them aren't even allowed in the sun, but, there you go.
I had been, like many people, living just outside the city limits, but West Hollywood became a place where my activism could happen. And I had gotten involved. Actually, my first city council meeting was a city council meeting that the mayor of Los Angeles at the time came to advocate in support of passing a higher minimum wage. A few years later, I got more involved in the city through our Housing Element Task Force process. Our city was in the middle of negotiating with the state around a new number of housing units we would be directed to build over the next 10 years. That number of housing units, 3,900, was more than the city had built in its 30-year history prior. And as somebody who was waiting for that magical housing unit to appear in West Hollywood where I could move into the city and be a part of it, I knew becoming a part of the city council to see those 3,900 units of housing be built was going to be a part of my life. So I could see more people be welcomed as neighbors to our city.
Wow. Now, to any of you, do you remember something that you were involved in that particularly struck you that you were saying to yourself, I can't believe I'm a part of this movement, I've made this thing happen?
Well, I think just forming the city is something that is amazing when you look back. And thinking about the first council meeting, our first council meeting was in Plummer Park. And I still remember it was an overflowing crowd. We had media from all around the world because we were the first city with an openly LGBT majority. Mm-hmm. And the amount of attention we got for that was just through the roof. Plus, there was just this excitement about West Hollywood becoming this new city, the excitement about the community taking local control. In terms of some of the things that we've been involved with, adopting that first rent control ordinance and all of the effort that was put into that and the time and the criticism and the support, that was, I think, really monumental. But I think also somebody mentioned it in the video, taking over Santa Monica Boulevard from the state and being able to offer outdoor dining and beautify the street. The redevelopment agency on the east side, the advancement of LGBT rights, the domestic partnership ordinance, the first non-discrimination ordinance based on HIV. I mean, all of those are so monumental, and to have the honor of being part of that is just, I'm just so blessed that I've had that opportunity. And I know so many people in this auditorium have been part of that journey and have been part of that effort.
Well, you are the OG.
No, you're the OG.
Oh, well, I'm beyond the valley of the OG.
Can I just?
I remember when the gay majority on the board, I had an agent at William Morris' office who said to me, you should change your address from West Hollywood because when you put West Hollywood on, they will know you were gay. And I said, Sheldon, the cat is out of the bag. But that's how gay we were, that there was an actual fear that we were too gay, even like from the beginning. But look what's happened since. I mean, it's become, the whole thing has become a growth hormone.
You're gay?
Well, if you'd like me to be.
Well, we'll talk later.
I mean.
Can I also just say, as someone that was young and came to the city and got to meet people like, let's see, when I was an intern, it was John Duran, Jeff Prang, John D'Amico, Abby Land, and John Heilman. To learn and see those 5 individuals at really working for so many different causes and so many different obstacles and challenges. It was so inspiring. And just to give kudos where kudos is due, is Councilmember John Heilman is the longest serving openly gay elected official in the entire country in so many ways, but truly has ushered in just a leadership from what is now known as the Victory Fund, from Equality California, for so many rights that we sometimes might take for granted. Right. I mean, this individual right here has saved lives and changed lives, and I just want to give him a big thank you for being a hero and a mentor to so many of us.
All right. Lauren, was there a particular project or idea that was a challenge that that you remember more than the others? That was something you had to really deal with?
There were plenty of challenges.
I'm sure there were a lot, but
I would say, first of all, WeHo Pride. Starting with LA Pride, we had in 2015 a lot of unhappy people after the LA Pride event. Right. And so I had just become mayor. I said, let's do focus groups. I'm from a market research background. I'm like, let's do focus groups, let's do surveys, let's do forums. And we did, and we let people vent, and we also got a lot of really good information, which I think helped us to evolve LA Pride into WeHo Pride. And I think that was one of the best decisions that we've made, right. Because we have control of it, and that means you also have control of the creativity. You have the freedom to be more creative and have things going on that wouldn't have happened with LA Pride. So I'd say that was one a challenge that turned out positive.
That's great. Chelsea. Can you think of stuff that, although it was a West Hollywood thing, that was something on a national or a global scale, like climate change, like environmental work, that the city somehow participated in, that you were a part of, or you dove into or were troubled by?
Yeah. So I'm council member 17 of the 18, one of the newest people on the council. And just 3 months into my role, I was sent to the National League of Cities conference in Washington, D.C., where we would have an opportunity to advocate for funding for the log cabin project to our Congressman Adam Schiff at the time, now our senator. I was sitting in a room, and just because I was sitting there with my West Hollywood name badge, a member of the National League of Cities staff came up to me and said, "We need you, not you, Chelsea, you, West Hollywood, to be a part of this effort." They were launching a white paper on electric vehicle charging stations, and our city's work was already known as some of the leading work in the country. Again, not because of me, Chelsea, and what I did. I was very new to the job, but because of our remarkable staff and the leadership on council before then that drove us to that point. And so it was an amazing sort of meeting of the opportunity to be in that room, to have that opportunity to join all of these different spaces. So since then, I've been a part of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, a national working group on electric vehicles, many panel discussions on this topic, just because the city of West Hollywood has been leading the way, and they need our voices as council members, as staff, as residents, to help keep pushing. We also got the funding from Adam Schiff on that trip, which is great news for the log cabin, but just remarkable in how such a short amount of time, West Hollywood being in the right place helps accelerate the work that people all across the country are depending on.
Wonderful. John, how many people did meet at Halloween this year? I keep an annual count, and I feel that you are on top of the Halloween celebration.
Yes. I think if I counted, it was probably around 13.
About how many?
13. There's a
Oh my
lot
God.
of people. I mean, I don't believe Travis Kelce's mom was there, but, it's the
Well,
best.
a lot of them thought they were doing me, they were doing her. They were just, I wasn't sure, because my favorite thing is to take count of, to see what the culture is. My all-time favorite is, there was this very heavy black guy years ago who wore a cape and a half mask and went as the Phantom of the Opera. And I've yet to find anybody who topped that, although there were a bunch of Asian guys who went as the Miss Bangkok beauty pageant, which was before there was RuPaul's Drag Race, but when it was like still drag was a little bit exotic and not something that everybody in Iowa watched. How it's changed, hasn't it? I mean, it's a whole new culture, but it's pretty great. Before we move on, I just wanted to ask, are there specific things that you would like to mention, the specific groups that you've helped in the city or have presented unusual challenges to you that other places wouldn't have? I mean, we have such an interesting demographic in this place.
Well, West Hollywood is 36,000 people, and they all have 500,000 opinions. And it's a cacophony of amazingness at the same time, right? I mean, you can have mortal enemies on the same side of an issue because they actually do care about our community and our city. And I think that's kind of the joy and the beauty of it in so many ways. You might not like each other for whatever history, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to come together and fight against the tyranny that's coming in January or part 2 or whatever happens, and the history from all the stuff that's happened and the hatred that the LGBTQ community has had to overcome. And it's great to see a community that will come together and fight for each other no matter what.
It's also, very densely populated. I mean, it's not vertical, but everybody's close on top of everybody else, if that's not too salacious a way to describe it. Which is unusual. I mean, I come from a town in New Jersey that had lots of rural and farm and stuff, and so it was like, if you didn't like them, you just kind of ignored them. You would run into them maybe at the supermarket, but they weren't in your face all the time. And this is a city where everybody is in your face. And of course, there are so many new faces every time on the old faces that you are never quite sure who you're...
You don't go to pavilions without running into somebody who has a question for you or wants to tell you their opinion. And a selfie.
Exactly right. But you can give them sushi and they'll go away. I've discovered that. That's very Well, I think we should bring on the newest member of the show. John.
I was going to give a shout out. I mean, I know the LGBT population has rightfully gotten a lot of attention tonight, but I also want to give a shout out to the seniors who played such an important role in getting Cityhood on the ballot, and our Jewish population, as well as our Russian immigrant population, and how they have been brought into the community and how much they've contributed to the culture.
You remember at the beginning, I remember calling City Hall and you would get a recording saying press 1 for English and 2 for Russian.
Right.
Because there were no Spanish. Because there were so many Russian people who suddenly descended. I mean, they didn't care for Fairfax. So they went west, and they found us. I mean, they came after Perestroika when they were allowed out of the country. I mean, I know a lot of them, and they settled in the Panhandle, what I call the Panhandle of Santa Monica Boulevard. But there were so many, and they were so. Of course, they were Russian Jews, so of course they wanted to take charge of things. This is how we are. What can I do? It's the DNA, and so they were involved, and I don't think any place else in America has ever had that particular recording at City Hall, press 2 for Russian. No matter how much Putin would enjoy it, I don't think we have that. Let us bring the newest city council member up here, the newly elected Danny Hang. Come join us. You can be to my right, okay. I'm to your left.
Well, hello, Bruce.
Hello. Just like I said on Hollywood Squares, I'm to the left of Whoopi, if that's possible.
Thank you for coming to my campaign kickoff back in July.
It was in John D'Amico's backyard.
Yes, it was at former Mayor John D'Amico's house.
Then I met you, but that was great. I'm sure I have a question I'm supposed to ask you, but here it is. I'm sorry. They prepared me. I didn't prepare myself, but they prepared me. What motivated you to become a city council member? Was there a specific issue or event that sparked your desire to be in this particular town as a council member?
You know what? I was inspired by Mayor Erickson, by Vice Mayor Byers, by Councilmember Shine, by former Mayor John D'Amico. And I'm a renter. Rents are going up. And I want to help protect people, keep people in their homes. I want to be able to build more affordable housing. On top of that, I want to create safe streets and safe walkable sidewalks for our community members. And also uplift our small businesses here in the city. We need to help each other. And without businesses, we have no community. And of course, to protect our workers. We are a progressive city, and I want to continue that tradition so we have the next 40 years to look forward to.
Fabulous. And I'd like to point out the council members' socks, because they're fabulous. I'm sorry, I'm that kind of queen. It's the design district, isn't it? Well, does anyone have anything else to add to any of this? Where do you see West Hollywood going? That's a good question for anybody to take up.
Well, we'll have a new face by 80, I'm sure, in whatever way. I think the best thing that I've always heard, cities are never finished. I remember that's from one of my dear colleagues, Councilmember John D'Amico, but Councilmember Abby Land always said, think globally when you're acting locally, because there's so many people that look to West Hollywood to be a beacon for so many ways. When I think about what Councilmember Heilman said and the work that we do in bringing in individuals from China who are LGBTQ with the LA LGBT Center, next week's panel on LGBTQ individuals from Russia and Ukraine and what that will mean to our community here. The work that we have to do in this world right now is standing strong, and it's because of the backbone and spine of this community that's been built so much, but specifically it's also because of all of you. It's people like Yola Doré right there in the front row that reminds us every day to make sure we're fighting for people with disabilities. It's people like, I think I see Barbara Melter back there who, making sure we're doing stuff for our older adults. It's everyone in this room that pushes us to be better, and that's the best part about West Hollywood's future. It's involved in involving all of us.
Okay.
And also, if I can just add, we need to protect our unique neighborhoods because that's what makes West Hollywood West Hollywood.
Exactly.
And for the first time these last couple of years, we've actually seen residents and small businesses come together to fight for things, and whereas in the past it could be a very rocky relationship, it's amazing what groups of people can do when they are motivated. So thank you.
That's great. Please thank the council. Please thank the council members, the mayor, the vice mayor, the new council member. We are so proud of all the accomplishments that our city council has made on behalf of the community, yes. But many of the groundbreaking stories and strides were made by those who are here tonight but no longer serve. Well, we'd like to applaud their contributions, their activism, their sacrifices, and hear their powerful stories too. As Whoopi would say, take a look.
I think you can say a lot of things about the last 40 years. You can talk about community, you can talk about activism, you can talk about big, bold ideas, but I think it's ultimately is about community because it's community that empowers a city to do everything that West Hollywood has accomplished over the last 40 years. And so if there's anything we should celebrate, it's celebrating all of the people of this community who have built something that has impacted the world and yet created an amazing place for people to live in today.
West Hollywood has been trailblazing for 40 years. It's activists that make change. And we've certainly had more than 40 years of activism before we became a city to make it a city, and activism all along.
The city is constantly changing, but I think it's always moving forward. The city has never been afraid of embracing the future, of really thinking about how it wanted to shape its future. The future doesn't happen to the city helps to create it. And so I think 40 years of progress, is exactly West Hollywood.
Throughout the whole history of the city, the whole almost 40 years, the city's never been afraid to take the leadership on issues that can be an example for the rest of the state and the country and the world.
I think in the last 40 years, the city has managed to be true to the community that existed in 1984. Because West Hollywood as a community existed long before West Hollywood was a city. But the city that existed in that moment in November of '84 is still in many ways that city. We've still managed to maintain a lot of the values and a lot of the really important sense of community and mission that still remains.
The community of West Hollywood is the most amazing collection of people I think I've ever experienced. They will test you, they will challenge you, they will inspire you, they will support you, they will nurture you. I think West Hollywood made me the best version of myself, and I think that's really what it does for people who come here.
40 years, which is rather shocking actually when I think about it. But of course wonderful. I think personally for me, one of the issues that I draw out of that 40 years and that is important to me is for people to have perspective on where West Hollywood came from, what its origin was, what were the important issues, what the process was, and how it became the diverse and artistic and friendly city that it is.
At any one time, there are 35,000 souls who call this place home, right? At any time from 1984 to now, 40 years later, it's always been about 35,000 souls. But the reality is the community of West Hollywood is not limited to those 35,000 people. And people come from all over the place just to have a part of this community and to touch it and feel it.
I would go with 40 years of optimism. Whenever I think of a certain affinity group or part of the community that has exceeded its sort of expectations of itself, it's really because of their optimism.
40 years of activism from creating creating our own city, a cityhood, a group of LGBTQ activists and seniors and renters coming together to create an extraordinary city.
West Hollywood's made a huge imprint on the world over the last 40 years, and I expect nothing but even more of that in the next 40. Congratulations, West Hollywood, as you celebrate 40 years of cityhood.
And now, joining our host, Bruce Vilanch, are our former appointed city executives. Please welcome to the stage former city managers Paul Aravallo and Paul Brotzman and former city attorney Mike Jenkins.
What I want to know is what made you want to serve West Hollywood? What were the early years like when you were doing it? Anybody can.
I will start by saying that the incorporation of West Hollywood was a very big deal in the world of municipal government. The lead up to the incorporation election was a very big deal, and the prospect of being the lawyer for this new city was very enticing. And it was something that, as I was watching what was happening, I said this was something that I would really find interesting and challenging. And believe me, I had no idea at the time. And the one thing that hasn't been said about the city council, and a lot of things have already been said, and I don't want to repeat what's been said, is that in addition to being bold and visionary and pursuing their social agenda, the city council was pragmatic. They were incredibly pragmatic. They knew that they were going to push hard and that there were going to be some wins and some losses. They got it. They understood it. They were smart, and they were very businesslike in a certain way. And when it came time to selecting their city attorney, they decided maybe it would be a good idea to hire somebody who knows something about local government.
Unlike what's happening now in Washington.
Oh, well, okay, let's not go there, but yeah.
I understand. You didn't have a talk show.
And so that was lucky for me because I knew something, even though I had just graduated from junior high school at the time. I knew something about local government, and there was a good connection. And so I became the first hire of the new city council. And I'm going to stop talking in a moment and let these two other guys talk, but I just wanted to say, John made mention of that first meeting, and at the beginning, when the room here was standing room only, it was a bit reminiscent of that first meeting of the city council. And I remember pulling up to the side door of the auditorium at Plummer Park with hundreds of copies of the agenda that I had made copies of in my office. And what were those copies? Well, just weeks before, after the council was elected, we had just 3 or 4 weeks before the incorporation meeting when we were going to become a city. And we sat down and met, and they said, Mike, we need an ordinance prohibiting discrimination against people based on sexual orientation. Mike, we need a rent control moratorium, and we need to roll back rents 9 months. Mike, we need an ordinance on domestic partnerships, and we want all of this at the first meeting, because that first meeting is going to be, something special. And I said to myself at the time, Mike, what the hell have you gotten yourself into? But we did it.
You did it. I talked about the Studio One Forever movie before, and about how the AIDS crisis hit it. And I'm curious as to how the city responded to the AIDS crisis in the 80s when it occurred, because this audience is way too young to know about that.
You know, there were a couple of aspects that we had to address when it came to the AIDS crisis. One was internal with regard to city employees, because a large percentage of our staff was from the gay and lesbian community. And the other was external. The business community was dreadfully afraid that the stigma that went with HIV and the lack of knowledge about transmission at the time would cause people to hesitate to come to West Hollywood. And a lot of the West Hollywood was built on the hospitality industry, the design industry. And so the business community had serious concerns. So from both perspectives, we had to address it internally with our staff. And there was a period of time where we were probably losing a staff member every month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
that was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard because these were people that we worked with that were young, vibrant, exciting, fun people to be with and be around. And every time we lost one, it was a bit hurt at City Hall. So that was one of the issues where we, engaged, because we had the social service programs, we took advantage of them for city employees to take advantage of them. And then externally, we created the West Hollywood Marketing Corporation, which developed the concept of the creative city, to market the city as a creative place. And it was a way to market the city that was inclusive. It was inclusive of the gay and lesbian community, and it was inclusive of the design industry, the entertainment industry, and so on. So those were some of the efforts that we undertook.
But it left out the people who were not creative, who went to work for Fox. They were good at math, but Can you give us an insight, since you were around at the time when the first Pride things began, and Halloween and Mardi Gras and all of these events that are associated with WeHo?
And I'll let Paul talk a little bit more about that. It really started before I took a leadership role. I got here, I think, in '89, but it had already started to percolate. And I think that nobody really realized what it would become, because over the years it just really exploded into something that is world-renowned and world-class. But Paul was there, and we had lunch the other day, and Paul was talking about the first time he told the sheriff captain that we needed to close down Santa Monica Boulevard, and the sheriff captain said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And Paul said, "Okay, it's going to shut down anyway."
And it did.
It did.
And it did.
Perfect attitude.
So,
go ahead. Sure.
Mike was talking about the city council and how they had all these expectations. Well, in April of '85, which was when I started working with the city, the council, one of the directives was they wanted Santa Monica Boulevard, Median Island cleaned up. In '85, the Median Island was a dirt strip with some old flagpoles that had been left over from the Olympics, covered with litter, and not owned by the city. Right. And the council's directive was, we would like it landscaped and lawn by June, 2 months away, which we accomplished. Maybe stretching a few laws at the time because we didn't own the street or the median, but we did accomplish it. So that was one of the first.
Wow, that was amazing. Now, you've been around from the beginning and close to it and seen it all happen. Are you happy with where we are now, and where do you see us going? Anybody who...
I just said to Mike, listening to the panel tonight, the council members tonight talking, it's like listening to the council members 40 years ago talking. Yeah. The same value, the same commitment, the same beliefs, they're all here. And that's just amazing and wonderful to see.
I mean, when you think about it, thinking back 40 years, that's a bit surreal. Well, when we started, and we adopted all these ordinances right from the get-go, the question became, okay, what's next? Who's going to do the work? Who's going to implement all these ordinances, right? We were headquartered in a building in Plummer Park, which the county hated and wanted to kick us out of at the earliest possible time.
And did.
And ultimately did. We were trying to hire staff. We were getting questions from very, very panicked developers, building owners, landlords who didn't know what was going to happen, didn't know what to do. I was taking walking tours of the city to figure out which building projects had gone far enough into construction that they could continue, and which ones had to stop because we placed a moratorium on construction. We had a developer who was converting, this was mentioned earlier, residential multifamily buildings into hotels and residential neighborhoods, and we told them they had to stop until we figured out what we were going to do. We had the rent rollback. It was a really, really crazy time. My office was getting hundreds of phone calls a day because they didn't know where else to call. Right. Because we didn't even have at that point an office or anyone to answer the phone. And so I think about that, and it's so crystal clear in my mind. And then I think about where we are today and what a fabulous, what an accomplished, sophisticated city, a financially stable city, a city where so many of my other clients would say in the first couple of years, is that city really? Is it real? Is it going to survive? And then, Paul, with his financial magic, turned the city into a city that everyone looks to as being a model, right? A model community.
Yeah. I used to go to conferences when I first became city manager, and I never anticipated becoming city manager. It was never on my horizon, but it happened, and I was real fortunate. And I would go to regional conferences with other city managers, and there'd be roundtable discussions, and people would be talking about issues that they're dealing with, and it would get to me. And I remember Steve Helvey, he was the city manager from Whittier, and he said, "Yeah, shut up, Aravala, you don't run a city, you run an amusement park." And I said, well, it doesn't mean it's easy, right? I mean, it's, and I want to go back, and we talked about this earlier, back at the days of incorporation, there were those illegal conversions of residential properties to hotels, and the city worked out a deal with that developer at the time, Severin Ashkenazi, and he built our economic infrastructure. Right. I mean, without that tourism base, we wouldn't be who we are today. So it was one of those things that was a problem then, but the city council and the staff at the time, they were sophisticated enough to negotiate their way out of that and get a boatload of money for affordable housing and the West Hollywood Housing Corporation, but also to really hunker down on the economic engine that became the tourism industry here in West Hollywood. And that was, I think, a major turn for the city.
We had 40 or 50 apartment buildings where the owners had obtained all of the approvals needed to convert to condominiums by the county before incorporation. And the city council was very anxious to preserve rental housing and affordable housing. And the council said, what can we do to prevent the conversion of these buildings? And we brought a lawsuit that was unprecedented to prevent them from completing their conversion. And remarkably, we won in the Court of Appeal.
Wow.
During which time those owners, were very panicked and upset, taking the case to the Supreme Court. And John Heilman and Abby Land and Christy Hogan spent months and months and months meeting with the residents of every single one of those buildings, working out settlements, because we didn't know how the Supreme Court was going to rule in this case. Right. This is another example of the City Council willing to take a chance, knowing we could win, we could lose, we didn't know, and creating settlements that allowed residents to stay in their units, that settlements that brought to the city millions of dollars into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And many of those owners grabbed those settlements because they didn't know how it was going to turn out in the court, in the Supreme Court either. And in the end, we lost. But we created an Affordable Housing Trust Fund that we then leveraged to create affordable housing, and we protected a lot of the tenants in those buildings, and almost created some really great legal precedent.
Perfect. Well, we have seen what it's like today, and we have seen where it came from. I think it's a unique perspective, and this is what happens when you celebrate 40 years. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Is that all the time we get? I mean, there are stories that could go on forever.
All right. But there's cake.
Well, then I'm going to take liberty and I'm going to do a shout out because I want to call out Laverne Wilson, who's here in the audience. She's my second mom. She's the mother of David Wilson, our city manager, and it's great seeing you. And thank you and your family for being here.
Well, it's a perfect segue because David Wilson is about to come out on stage. And thanks, Laverne.
I would like to also do one more shout out to a person who is not with us tonight, and that is a woman by the name of Jody Curley. She was fantastic. She was one of the first hires that we had at City Hall, and she provided some of the most amazing leadership in developing the social service programs in this city. And I can't acknowledge her enough in terms of the effort that she put in. What a wonderful person.
And Bruce, I just want to say one more thing, and that is this. You asked earlier, what about the future? I just want to say this. This city and the city council historically in this city, they have been courageous and bold. And we are living in a time, and you referenced this earlier, where there are so many cowards in Washington, D.C., so many spineless politicians who want nothing but power and are willing to accept what we've got right now. This is what we need to be a model going forward in this country, to stand up to what's happening in Washington, D.C. That's what's next.
Please welcome back City Manager David Wilson, and joining him is Assistant to the City Manager, Christine Safriette.
I do want to thank the former and current city council members, as well as our former city managers and city attorneys for sharing your experiences. It's been inspiring to hear so many accounts of West Hollywood's formative years. The city has nurtured many of us and helped us grow into who we are today. And there's a beautiful kinship that comes with that. WeHo is forever part of us, and we are forever part of it.
We owe a giant thank you to the city of West Hollywood for making our lives so fulfilled, so abundant, and so full of promise. It's been 40 years of progress, 40 years of pride, and tonight we celebrate 40 years of community. Thank you all for being a part of this indomitable city.
As we move forward, welcoming new advocates into our vibrant West Hollywood family, it's essential that we remain steadfast in safeguarding West Hollywood's core values. The rich diversity of our people not only strengthens our culture, but also ensures that our community is ever evolving with new ideas and discovery. The diversity of ideas is the heartbeat of West Hollywood, a dynamic force that drives innovation and unity. Together, we create a shared vision for the future of West Hollywood.
Just last month, the City Council approved the WeHo 40 Strategic Plan, a community-driven roadmap to the year 2040. It was developed through an intensive community engagement process and co-authorship process that involved thousands of individuals and community members. And the city, as an organization, continues to implement new ways of engaging our community. Last night, we completed our second session of the Civic Leadership Academy this year. It's a unique multi-session program that provides community members with an in-depth understanding of how our city government operates and delivers services. More than 40 community members have completed the program this year, and many of them were here tonight. If you are part of the Civic Leadership Academy, or you would like to be, please stand up and be recognized. We will have additional sessions next year. For more information, visit our website at engage.weho.org and look for the Leadership Academy section.
In early 2025, the city will introduce Hello WeHo, a new online newsletter platform designed to provide community members with an easy access to news, updates, and valuable content. We are also exploring enhanced tools for event calendaring and evaluating an e-notification system to deliver timely, relevant updates. These advancements are part of our ongoing commitment to fostering stronger and more efficient connections between the city and our community.
Thank you to everyone involved in tonight's program, and to all of you for being an important part of West Hollywood's 40 years of cityhood. As we close this wonderful evening, we want you to know that tonight's event is just the beginning of a year-long celebration, which includes arts and performances, because it takes more than one night to celebrate 40 years.
And so now we're going to bring back Bruce Vilanch, Pickle, and the West Hollywood City Council, and cake.
You made her proud. Okay. I have to assemble this mob. Here we are. Oh, okay, well, this splendid evening it was. Look at this crowd. I can't believe it. What kind of a party would this be without topping it off with some exquisite cake? Cake. Now, Mayor Erickson and City Council will do the honors. Oh, there is the cake. It snuck up behind me. That's rare. All right. Who's going to cut the cut? Oh, I'll cut the